Ice Cube has a will be meeting with the Biden administration. He says he's not doesn't have a firm date scheduled yet, but he will be meeting with the Biden administration. At least there's tentative plans in place for him to meet with the Biden administration, and I think we have to keep that into perspective. Tentative plans in place because these people, they don't want to meet with Ice Cube. They're just worried about optics. And, well, that's my opinion. Welcome to Escaping the Echo Chamber. So yeah, I want to actually talk about Ice Cube and the contract with Black America, particularly Ice Cube and a lot of the heat he's gotten. Because what's interesting is that Ice Cube came out with the contract for Black America, and people, and now people have, I've had discussions with people who are saying, oh, well, why did he wait till, right before the election to do it? Why did he endorse Trump? Why isn't he doing anything now? And these are all questions that I think are being pushed by people who have an agenda that isn't about Black America, So if you just take a look at the first question, well, why did he wait till right before the election to do it? No, he didn't. Ice Cube came out with the contract with Black America, I believe, as early as July. In fact, I believe it's earlier than July. But this is, remember, he came out with the contract with Black America before Joe Biden actually picked a running mate. Before he picked Kamala Harris as his running mate, before he was officially the nominee of the Democratic Party, before those things happened, Ice Cube had come out with his contract with Black America. And people wanted to ignore it. The mainstream definitely ignored it. The mainstream pretended it didn't exist. They pretended Ice Cube didn't exist. They did not want to discuss this. You know what happened? Other people started paying attention. And this is one of the things, I'm going to beat this like a dead horse from now till kingdom come. This is the importance of having alternative media. And YouTube and social media acts in that I guess in that space right now. However, you got to see where it's headed, that they want to crack down on social media, on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter. They want to crack down on these venues in part for those reasons. They don't want people having access to information that hasn't been curated by the powers that be. But these are the things that helped this to, so when you consider that that's where the direction that things are heading in trying to crack down on this, we can't just depend on YouTube. We can't just depend on Facebook. Zuckerberg will, in order to protect his pockets, he will play ball. We've already seen that. We've seen Jack playing ball on Twitter. YouTube will purge unapproved accounts. We've seen it. So the key is to take advantage of the blueprints that have already been set. Okay, boom. We see how to do it. Easy. Let's do it. We don't need these particular companies that are acting in these spaces right now to always act in these spaces, because they've already shown that they are, susceptible to being co-opted. So we need our own spaces, but the existing technology makes it so that information can just be shared so easily, and we've got to take advantage of that. So back to the topic. This is why, despite the fact that mainstream media didn't want to talk about it, they wanted to ignore it, they wanted to pretend Ice Cube didn't exist, things still blew up. People were reading about it, people were finding out about it, people were like, hey, wow, this is interesting. And then it got the attention of campaigns. So Trump campaign, Biden campaign. Trump campaign saw an opportunity to just, try to siphon off enough of the black vote. I have no illusion that Trump actually gave a damn. Now, some people will disagree with me. Cool. We can have that discussion. But, and there's a couple of reasons, a couple of evidences that the Trump campaign didn't really give a damn. But they said, hey, let's talk to him, because they're like, wait a minute, let's figure out if we can use this, if we can find something that this contract with Black America is talking about, we can do a power play and get black votes to us. And quite frankly, so just because I'm saying that Trump didn't care doesn't mean I think it's a bad thing. I think it's a great thing. Getting Trump to pretend to care is awesome. Like that's part of the game. In other words, if you have now a Republican even trying to pay lip service to the black community, even trying to talk about, just utter words about a black agenda, you put pressure on the Democratic Party. So now they're like, we can't just do the normal thing, and that's exactly what happened. We just can't do the normal thing and pretend and think everything's going to go away. They were shook. That's why the media started covering it, because once Trump started playing with it, once Trump's campaign started looking at it, they got scared. The Democratic Party and their shills in media, and I'm going to say in the black community, their shills towards the Democratic shills towards the black community. So that's their job. Their job is to go to the black community and bring the black community to the Democratic Party and to support the Democratic Party. They started getting nervous because they're like, oh no, we don't want to lose our jobs. We don't lose our position, our money, our access to power. Because that's what so many of these shills are about. They're about access to power, not about providing actual solutions for the black community. They're about maintaining their positions of privilege, power, and profit. That's what they're concerned about. So they started scrambling. That's when you started seeing coverage of it. That's when the mainstream media started looking at it and started spinning a narrative. Oh, Ice Cube is endorsing Trump. Ice Cube, and they didn't come out and just say those words endorsing. They like to say, to leave things open and have people on that will make those statements. So if Chris Cuomo or Don Lemon don't say it directly, they'll let somebody, one of their talking heads, come on and say something stupid like that. And so and then you've got social media being used, Twitter. You'll have sock accounts spitting out certain lies and falsehoods. Oh, Biden, Ice Cube is supporting Trump. Ice Cube is endorsed Trump. Ice Cube is a MAGA, is MAGA now. And there were so many people that came out and just started attacking Cube. And so many of these people, and the people leading this attack, the people out in front, visibly out in front of this attack, were the black shills. These are the shills of the Democratic Party. These are the people that pretend to be black leaders. I say pretend because they're not actually leaders, and they don't give a damn about the black community. Their job is not securing the success of the black community. Their job is securing the support of the black community for the Democratic Party. That's their job. And so they were like, okay, we've got to get out there. We've got to, and in terms of not being leaders, you know what they do? They take orders. They take orders from their Democratic bosses who tell them, this is what you need to do. This is what you need to get the people to support. You need to sell this idea. Like, look what they're doing with the vaccine. They're running around trying to tell a bunch of people that this experimental vaccine is good for them. Like, there's so many things that are wrong with that, but we'll get into that later. It's just one of the latest examples of what these people do, of what these shills do. They are not going to the Democratic Party with a black agenda. They're coming to the black community with a Democratic agenda. So they started attacking Ice Cube. They're going on, their shows and talking about, and some of them they wouldn't even say his name. Say, you've got rappers who don't know what they're talking about, and the hostility was so evident that these people were scared. They weren't scared that he was doing something that was actually going to hurt the community. They were scared he was going to do something that was going to hurt the Democratic Party. So when he came out with this, I remember one of the things that happened was April Ryan rushes out and has him on her podcast. And I watched her, and Ice Cube. So before I get to what she did, and I'm gonna make a note to I have to make sure to come back to that. Before I get back to April Ryan, Ice Cube. One of the other criticisms about Ice Cube is that he's not an expert. He's just a rapper, and he's not an expert, but he's not just a rapper. So in many things, he's not an expert, but he's not just a rapper. However, this is the narrative they want to say to force people and to convince people to dismiss what he's saying. The simple fact you have to ask yourself, though, is this. If Ice Cube isn't an expert, cool. Where are the experts? Where are the black experts in public policy? And why don't they have a black agenda? These people have the knowledge. They've got these fancy degrees. They've got access to think tanks and all this stuff. They've made a very good living for themselves as being the knowledge, the intelligentsia, the knowledge keepers, the experts, the wise men. They are the experts in all of these areas, from public policy. They're lawyers. They're economists. They're in all these different areas. These people are experts. Where's their black agenda? They don't have one. Because, like I said, they're not black leaders. They're following their employees of various institutions, including the Democratic Party. And their job is to get black people to support the Democratic Party, not to get the Democratic Party to support a black agenda or to help black people. So here's what happens when April Ryan gets him on. She's using her expertise to undermine what he's doing, what he's attempting to do. And he was like visibly nervous because this isn't an area of his expertise. So if you're talking about rap, you're talking about music, he will be so much more comfortable in that area. But now he's discussing something that he's not as familiar with. He's discussing it with somebody whom he knows is an expert. But she's not using her expertise to benefit black people. She's using her expertise to benefit the Democratic establishment. That's what she was sent to him for. That's what she was trying to do, to undermine him in the eyes of the black masses, the black community, the masses, the majority of the black community, and to get people to ignore him and just do what they've been doing and just, okay, we'll just support the Democrats because the Republicans don't like us. And so it was insidious. And I'm watching this. I'm like, this woman, she starts off by talking about his net worth and, how he's actually would benefit from Trump's tax policies. That was a real subtle way of trying to, of saying, without saying, that he's supporting Trump, that she's implying that he's supporting Trump because it's good for his pocketbook. It was just I'm watching this woman okay, you really are an absolute shill for these scumbags. But we go forward. You get Ebony K. Williams. She's on her podcast talking about, he's doing too much. He's got too many points in it. He should just have 1 or 2 points and just focus on that. And I'm like that's not how it works. And that's the point. Ebony K. Williams, you're a lawyer. Like, you know better. You know that's not how it works. But you're selling this lie because you're clearly, your agenda is not the success of black people. Right now, clearly, you're working for an agenda on the success of the Democratic establishment, or whoever you think you need to appease in order to maintain your career, maintain and advance your career. Like, it's obvious there's so many people right now that pretend to be black leaders, but they're not. They're not leaders. They're not for the black community. That's not their priority. But when you watched all this, all of these people just trying to pile on to him, it was crazy, because it was like, I had already started to see and coalesce what the greatest problem facing the black community is. And if you listen to a clown like Candace Owens or Brandon Tatum, they'll tell you, oh, it's black fatherhood, the lack of black fathers and welfare. And okay, is that an issue for the white community? Because there's more white people on welfare than black people. Okay, I digress again. But it's not the absence of black fathers in the home. It's not black on black crime. And once again, you got to use air quotes, because if you're going to talk about black on black crime, let's talk about white on white crime. But no, we're not going to talk about that. Nobody wants to talk about that. So stop talking about black on black crime. That's not the issue. See, all of these things you're talking about are symptoms. They're symptoms of a larger problem. And the larger problem is the black community isn't being led by black people. The black community has figureheads. So these so-called black leaders aren't actually leaders. They're just figureheads that have been selected and placed in position by the establishment, by institutions that do not have any love or care for black people or the black community. These people don't like us. They don't care about us. They don't want us to succeed. And they have placed figureheads in place to lead the black community astray. And usually directly to them. That's their objectives. But these, it was being made so evidently, so evident in once Ice Cube came out and said, hey, here's a black agenda. Because the whole point is, all you people are experts. April Ryan, Ebony K. Williams. Okay, so you're experts. He's not. Where's your black agenda? And don't come with one or two plans, one or two policies, because that's not going to cut it. Because then what you're saying is you're not actually really trying to solve the problems. You're just trying not to rock the boat. So you're exposing yourself as being more concerned about being appeasing these white institutions, and in this case the Democratic Party, than actually helping the black community. But the fact that black experts, these so-called experts, weren't doing anything is the reason black rappers have to come out and do something. Because the people that are supposed to be doing it, the so-called leaders, aren't doing it, and it's becoming more and more evident with every passing day. When you have an administration in place, when you have the architect of mass incarceration as back as the president of the United States, like back in the White House, from the VP, the fact that he was chosen as a VP in itself exposed who Barack Obama was. That was ridiculous. But this guy is just like, this guy has been an enemy of the black community. But once again, y'all just ushered him back into power, and you'll want everybody to support him and to cheer for him and to ignore all of the damage and harms he's done to the black community. And don't say, oh, he thought, his policies were actually going to be good for, because no, he didn't think that locking up addicts or drug users was good enough for Hunter. He thought it was good enough for us. But at no point did Hunter Biden get tossed into a cell. So don't miss me with that nonsense that he believed that he was actually doing what was good for the people. No. Not at any point. But the fact that Ice Cube had to step up spoke to a vacuum, a lack of actual leadership that was there, the lack of an actual black agenda. And that's why Ice Cube had to step in. And so, I mean, the fact that they lied when they said he came up with it at the last minute. No, they just paid attention at the last minute because they were scared. They saw it gaining steam, and now they were trying to derail it. And so they wanted to discredit Ice Cube. They wanted to discredit his intentions. They wanted to discredit his knowledge base, his expertise. But what they actually did was expose themselves. But there's a lot of people in the black community that just looked at this and says, okay, yeah, they're right. Because they didn't hear about it when he actually came out with the contract with Black America. And they're listening, they're assuming that these people actually care for them and actually care about the community, which they don't. And so now if you just take a look at it, like he didn't endorse Trump, and the Biden administration, the Biden campaign, some people wanted to talk to him, but they didn't really want to do anything about it. So now, once again, there are people that say, oh, well, where's Cube now? Cube's still working. Once again, but the only reason that the mainstream gave him attention was because they were scared that he was actually gaining steam. So they only gave him enough attention so that they could attempt to discredit him. That's it. So he's still working. But once again, the mainstream doesn't really want to give him attention and doesn't see a need to give him attention right now because they're not worried. There's no election right now, so they're not like, okay, we don't have to worry about him. He's not a threat to the Democratic establishment that he represented before the election. So that's why they're not covering him. But he's still working. And so I'm interested to see what happens with the Biden administration. And I think the contract with Black America is a great idea. And I think that it's great that Ice Cube stepped up to the plate and was willing to do something that the so-called black leaders weren't doing and aren't doing, because they're not really black leaders. They're employees. They're shills. Their job is to convince the black community to come to the Democratic Party, not to convince the Democratic Party to serve the black community. But the fact that you have something is awesome. I think I have a lot of ideas about what's needed, but that's for another video. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens when Cube meets with the Biden administration, if they actually follow up. And it's something I'm definitely going to watch. But if you're a person that is concerned about Cube, thinks Cube sold out, stop believing the hype. Start asking yourself, ask these questions. Where is the black agenda from these black experts? Like, number one, who are these black experts? Name them. Okay, if they're black experts, if these are the experts, where are their black agendas? Why aren't they going to the Democratic Party? They don't trust the Republicans. Cool. Why aren't they going to the Democratic Party and making demands? They're not. Like, in fact, Biden sat them down and schooled the I think it's the Congressional Black Caucus, and schooled them, like just sunned them, like listen, like yeah, you listen to me, and they just kowtowed. That lets you see these people are not leaders in the slightest. So don't believe the hype, and thank you for checking out this episode. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.